here inside Conover that's being provided to you by Ed. So the first one is a 60-inch desk, 3 drawers, and a bookshelf. And the second one is 80 inches with 2 drawers. Now keep in mind, both have tackboard walls, both are inside Conover, and both are being provided by Ed. So give him a call. 828-291-4630. Now again, that's 828-291-4630. Inside Conover, again, some free items. 2 middle desk office cubes could be yours today. Hearing that sound means that the Carolina Swap Shop is, well, officially coming to a close. So let me say thank you so very much for tuning on in inside the Carolina Swap Shop. You can always give me a toll-free call at the number 888-331-0269. And again, that's 888-331-0269. And our email address is ncswampshop@yahoo.com. This has been another edition of the Carolina Swap Shop. Again, thank you so very much for tuning on in. No matter how you tune on in, no matter when you tune on in, it helps make us what we are today, and me saying thank you just isn't enough. Have a great one.
Bigfoot Country is WVRM AM 1250, FM 103.9, W280 FP Marion, Signal Hill Media Partner Stations.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell claims the central bank's independence is threatened by President Trump. He says the Fed has been served with subpoenas and is threatened with a criminal indictment related to his congressional testimony last June. The death toll in Iran has soared to more than 540 amid nationwide anti-government demonstrations threatening the theocracy with collapse. President Trump, who has threatened U.S. intervention, says Iran is now seeking negotiations. Several people injured in Los Angeles. Someone drove a U-Haul truck into a crowd of Iran protesters. The driver is under arrest. Homeland Security Secretary Noem says hundreds more federal agents will be deployed to Minneapolis and vicinity in the midst of big anti-ICE demonstrations. On Wall Street, stocks opening lower this morning. More details at srnnews.com.
Newsmax, you like Newsmax. I like it too. Newsmax has been terrific.
President Trump is right. Millions like you are tuning into Newsmax. You're watching Newsmax on cable. You're going to our streaming channel, Newsmax 2. And you're downloading our free Newsmax app on your smartphones and TVs. Reuters Institute says we're now one of the top news brands in the nation. Every night, watch great shows with Rob Schmidt, Carl Higbee, Rob Finnerty, and more as they expose the big media lies, the Washington swamp, and they're never afraid to talk about faith, freedom, and the values that made us great. Find out why Newsmax is the fastest-growing news channel in America. Make the switch today and join our news revolution. Get Newsmax on cable, on streaming, and download the free app today. It takes just seconds to start. Let President Trump know you stand with Newsmax. It's for real news, for real people. Make the switch today. The following program is a paid advertisement and does not necessarily represent the views, opinions, or endorsements of Signal Hill Media Partners, its affiliate stations, or its advertisers. Welcome to Taking Care of NC, the program dedicated to exploring the issues, opportunities, and challenges shaping the great state of North Carolina. Join your host, Representative Jeff McNeely, as he delves into meaningful discussions about politics, community initiatives, and the people working to make a difference. Whether it's tackling local concerns, highlighting state achievements, or addressing pressing legislative matters, this show is your go-to source for understanding how North Carolina is growing and thriving. Stay tuned as we kick off another insightful episode of Taking Care of NC.
Good morning, North Carolina. I hope everybody's doing well out there. Sorry I was gone last week. I had to do a conference down in New Orleans. There's worse places to go. The conference last year was in Des Moines, Iowa, and we about froze to death. But it's for ag chairs across this country, and very enlightening. Always good to talk to other people in other places, see what's going on with them. But glad to be home, glad to be back on the air. Got a good show today. Got Brad Stroud right now with one of our commissioners, and he's also running for the office again. We're going to do a series 6 weeks here and interview all the different commissioner candidates for Iredell County. Folks, if you're out there outside listening area and somebody would like to be on the show, I can do second halves. I'm starting to do that because there's a lot of people. So if you'd like to get out, just give me a holler. You can call the station here, 704-873-9929. You don't do it during the show. You can call later or whatever. You can reach out to me on Facebook. Either way, Old Man Winter has showed his face and head again. So it's a little cold out there this morning. Yesterday was kind of comical. Office number. Here we go. If you'd like to be on the office number, 704-872-0550. I shall keep that for a later use at some point in time. And there it goes. We're throwing stuff back and forth around here. And once again, the Panthers backed into the playoffs and then gave us a glimmer and once again stabbed us in the heart. But they tried. They played hard, so I'm not going to knock them. I don't even think they were, didn't think they should even be there, but they played hard, and hate we didn't come up with an upset and pull it off. But we got somebody on there. We got Brad. We're going to go ahead and get into this and get started this morning. We got Brad Stroud on. Brad, are you there?
I certainly am. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, good morning. Good to hear from you. Good to see you yesterday. Brad's struggling a little bit, or he'd probably be here in person. He had some hip surgery, and I think if I say it wrong, tell me. But this was maybe there, but you had an incident with you was on your tractor and got ran over, for no better word than I can come up with. And go ahead.
Got rear-ended.
Yeah.
Got rear-ended with pulling a hay tedder, going from one field to another. And if anybody drives up in the north end of the county on Pisgah Church Road of the evening, there's a blind spot. The sun will really get you bad. And this fella I've known for 50-plus years, he lost. He turned that corner, and all he saw was the sun. Never saw the tractor, and it hit me, jackknifed me around, and then sent me flipping side over side for a couple sides, and it was an open cab tractor. All I can tell you is the good Lord wrapped his arms around me and held me in that cab, and the only thing it really did, I had everybody knows I was a soldier for 21 years and I got to do some fun, crazy things, but the tractor was probably the craziest. I won't call it fun, but it fired up an old injury and chipped away another piece of a piece of my hip, and so finally just kind of made me tap and say, well, time to get it fixed. So I had a complete hip replacement done the 30th of December.
Yeah, well, you're getting there, but I know it's slow and it'll take a while, but you are getting there. But he wanted to call in this morning, and that's fine. That ain't no problem at all. Hey, you got the questions sent out, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm hoping
for the people out there's protection. They took my license from me for a little bit till I heal up. So
really?
Or I would have been there first.
All right. Well, anyway, our first question. These are questions I'm going to ask everybody, audience, all 6 candidates, and I gave it to them ahead of time, and so I gave them time to think. And if they wanted to reach out, they're more than welcome to. Brad, first question. I always want my listeners, because we got people other than Iredell, but hey, we got people move into Iredell every day. Who are you? Tell us a little family, where born here, come from, job experience. Where do you live? Just tell us a little bit about who Brad Stroud is, if we don't know who you are.
So I am Brad Stroud Sr. I am a born, raised in North Carolina, Iredell County, my entire life. Some will make the argument, well, how did I do 21 years in the Army and remain an Iredell County resident? I never changed my taxes. I remained a loyal taxpayer to North Carolina, bought my home here even while I was still in service, and maintained my roots. My father was a stateful police officer here for 30 years and retired in the 80s. My mother was a mom and dad were poultry farmers up in the central community, and she was Dr. Hudgens, the old veterinarian's vet tech for many, many years. In addition to that, I'm happily married to Dr. Kimberly Ball, We have between us, we have 4 children, a son that's a deputy, a daughter that's a 911 telecommunicator, and then we have a 25-year-old son who's into music, and a 18-year-old daughter who is just today, matter of fact, started attending Mitchell as she just graduated high school.
All right.
And got 3 grandchildren that are products of the Iredell Statesville schools and attending now. And so just this home always has been, always will be. And just old country boy that came back home after a few years in service.
And mention your time with Iredell County, because I think that's important for people to know.
I was very blessed, Jeff. Thank you for bringing that up. I was very blessed. Upon my retirement, I was a first sergeant, and I was infantry for 16 of my 21. But the last 5 years, I was in the ROTC and recruiting command, and had the opportunity to come home and was appointed the director of Iredell County Veteran Services for 20 years, where my job was to help veterans navigate through the process of getting their injuries or illnesses or educational benefits, burial benefits, anything that they earned through their military service that was distributed out through primarily the North Carolina, or excuse me, the VA, big VA, the Veterans Administration, and then also through the North Carolina Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. We were nationally accredited. The office is still there and nationally accredited to represent claims and help folks work through that red tape, that sea of red tape, and help them get the benefits they deserve and earned.
As we like to say in Raleigh, that's bureaucracy with a big B. Ours is a little B.
That's right.
Anyway.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, been a commissioner now for 4 years. And the next question is, why are you wanting to be, and yours would be, reelected to the office of county commissioner? Now, everybody knows the first answer for everybody is, I'm crazy. But other than that, why do you want to be reelected or be elected to the office of county commissioner in Iredell County?
I think one of the things that I take the most pride in is, Jeff, very similar to yourself, is I'm not in real estate. I'm not in development. I am just an everyday guy. I came home, worked the job, still got a farm. I raise Black Angus cattle. I make a little hay. I just want to be the voice for the normal, just the everyday person that gets up and goes to work and just wants a fair shake, wants a fair deal, wants their voice to be heard. And I believe I'm that mechanism. I think we've accomplished some good things in this 4 years. You were a commissioner at one point. It's a tough job.
It is.
Somebody told me once that the best you ever do is make half the people happy with anything you do. But trying to be reasonable, trying to understand. Everybody. I want my taxes kept as low as possible. But we understand that in order to have services, that to have we have a great sheriff's department. But the way to have a great sheriff's department is it's got to be well funded. You've got to pay your folks. You got to have the equipment. Our EMS, any of the programs we have, the way those programs are funded are primarily through the taxes. And I want to keep our taxes low, and I want to keep our delivery of services at a premium. I want to continue to see Iredell County to be a premier place where we can proudly raise our families, have fun, and continue to, if you want to stay in the farming world, that we can hopefully keep it that way, where it's somewhat profitable, that you can continue that, whatever your dream is, and hopefully help each other along the way. And just, I'm kind of I'm going to say I'm a simpler guy. I think I'm very approachable, and just want to continue to make a difference and continue. And I'd like to see a couple of the things that we've done With Jennings Park, after lots of years, I think that even began back when you were a commissioner, and it's finally come to full fruition. I think, each one of us, back to you and all the way to us, should be very proud that we finally got that accomplished. We finally getting some schools, getting some schools going, being built that fix that issue. I'd like to see some of those things. One of the greatest things I'm very proud of is this new elementary that's being worked on now. We're going to pay cash money, and that's estimated saving us about $13 million just in interest payments alone, because we're paying cash for that school. And some people say, well, we put a lot of money out, but we put money out, but it's saving money in the long run, not having to pay that interest payment. Yes.
Yeah, and you may want to tell them just where that school's at, so people can get an idea where we're needing.
Parkertown Road is down to the southeast of Troutman, and kind of one of the more significant areas of growth with Mooresville, Troutman area especially. We don't have any choices. Those are some state mandates that we have that we have to provide those schools because of the population growth that's come and our expansion that's going on.
Yeah, kind of near, not exact that, but near where the new high school is. So, I mean, that's an area that is exploded, we'll say, for a better word, I guess, or whatever. It has.
Exactly. And, that's one of the, kind of comparing to the new high school at the same time, there's been a lot has been said and done. It goes, that didn't come until after your time as commissioner and before mine, but a lot of people kind of seems like so things did get done, and a bond got passed, and then the everything exploded and costs, and we've kind of held the line as best we could. We had to pony some more money in there, but we've got to do that. But we didn't give and go up as high as some wanted us to. But we're getting those things done and taken care of, and trying to hold it where we're. As soon as we get it approved, let's get started. Let's not wait and watch the inflation eat the money away.
Well, I see it. Like I said, one of the things too, just like us with Hurricane Helene taking out a third of the state. Well, from the inflation factors we had for the last 4 years, the aggregates haven't come down. Eggs have come down. A lot of things have come back down, which is helping consumers. But concrete, asphalt, steel, cement, block, everything it takes to make something happen, to build a building, to do whatever, it's still up there. Going to be, just because there's such a demand for it. And so it's this I don't see easing, may never ease again. I don't know. I've already said in those projects and gravel and stuff like that, if they go up, they may stay still for a while, but I've never seen them come down. At best, they hold ground, at best.
Well, I know, like some of the stuff y'all had to deal with in that issue, and, as we talk about, people say, what about, our roads here? And that is a state function. The county doesn't do roads, and the state doesn't build schools. But, as bad as it is here, I've had the opportunity, as I know you have, Jeff, that I've actually drove a truck up into the Burnsville area, up into what they call it, the South Toe River area, where it ain't fixed the roads, but there's no roads anymore.
That's right.
And so I know y'all are having to look at through NCDOT to move a lot of those funds up that way, and justifiably so. I mean, those folks have got to be able to get back to their property and to even begin to rebuild a life.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize Iredell County is part of a district, a DOT district, and in that district is probably at least 10 counties, I think, out of 12. That were in that declaration of disaster. So we were in it, and I ended up getting us in it because I saw Mecklenburg got in it, and I said, whoa. So we got in it, but we don't really. We were blessed. Thank the Lord. We were blessed for whatever reason.
And it wasn't that many years before. If you go back and think about when we had the horrible floods here, I think here in Iredell County, we lost 37 bridges, I believe. And a lot of money had to be spent there in emergency, whereas maybe it was earmarked for other places and other roads. But emergencies come along, and you have to be fluid and able to adjust and deal with what's at hand, and not that kind of sometimes gets things project kicked down the road a little bit.
It does. Hey, we'll jump on to the next one here, which you've kind of talked about it maybe already, so I don't know, may not spend much time on this. What do you see as the biggest challenge for Iredell County, I guess, in these next 4 years, if it ain't what you've already been through?
I think we've talked a lot about this, and you and I have had some chance to sit down and talk, but this growth, and it is the growth is just crazy, and it is one of those things that we got to have good growth. We got to have.
I think smart. I've heard smart, and I like smart better than any of the other terms.
Yeah,
smart growth.
Because I've heard people say managed growth. Well, how do you smart growth is probably as good as you can have, but you got to get everybody to agree to what's smart and what's not smart. And and there again, back to what we said, the best you're ever going to do is make half the people happy. So that's going to be the biggest thing. I think the other is there's the issue of, I believe there's some folks that don't understand the process as well as I wish they would, and I don't understand everything as well as I wish I could. But when a property owner at their own request goes to a municipality and says, "Hey, Mr. Mayor of whatever town, I'd like you to annex my land." Well, that's considered property owner rights, and the county commissioners, you were a commissioner, that never comes before the county commissioners. That deal gets struck between the property owner and the local municipality, whether it's Statesville, Mooresville, Troutman, Harmony, Love Valley. If they agreed, they say, well, we'll annex you. You're agreeing to pay more money in taxes, and we're going to provide all these services. I think there's some issues there, and I know you care about the farmland. It's part of your upbringing, the same as mine, and part of the business you do, kind of the same as me, raising cattle still. But people say, well, protect our farmland. Well, I know a lot of the farmers, they're kind of the idea is some folks, their children don't want to go into the farming business and or be a part of that world. And so what do you do at that point? And so that becomes the struggle, and finding that balance between property owner rights and what's good for the greater good of the county and try to find that blend and make sure that our commercial and industrial growth is hopefully outpacing the residential growth, so that you can at least support the infrastructure.
Yeah. Yeah. The next question is, and I asked this of the city council candidates that we had on earlier, but, with roughly probably $25 million in tax revenue, once it's built out here, coming from the data center, what would you do with that money? What would you do?
Well, at this point, and as I looked at that question and I started thinking, if my information's correct, what I heard was either just the land just was they had the closing to change the land over. So even like it sold this year, well, that doesn't even affect us at all because it goes.
It'll be a while. It'll be a while.
Yeah.
But $5 billion's the number they keep throwing out. That's going to be going to be the value of it, and with our tax rate where it is, about 25 mil, give or take.
Yeah.
Give or take a mill or two. We're talking government numbers.
With where we are, I mean, there are some projects that need to be finished and completed. One of the things, I'm a property owner and taxpayer first. What I would hope that we could do is hopefully lessen the burden on taxpayers. We still have to provide the services with the growth, the expansion of services. We put 2 ambulance crews on additional crews on. So you buy the ambulance, and then you got to have to man that full time. You got to have minimum 16 people. So that don't even count for vacation or sick time or their CE time. But I mean, even there, you're talking. It was in the millions, of dollars just to put one on. So I mean, expansion of services, what we do for our sheriff's department, how that's going to have to be expanded. Continue on with fire service. Yeah, we're going to have to see where we're at in that period of time. But one of the things I really hope is that we're able to lessen the burden on the taxpayers as best we can, because we've got by it being commercial or industrial revenue, they receive less in return of services. It costs less to provide the services to them than it does to a residential area.
Yeah. So they won't need a school. They won't need a school.
They won't need a school. They won't need law enforcement near as much or EMS near as much, and so it helps strengthen the what you bring in and what you can hold on to pay the bills and hopefully take less from the folks.
Well, all right. Now the 5th one, and we've talked about this. I brought this to you, and I don't know if maybe misunderstood or just maybe don't like, but I put forth a bill because I'm trying to figure out a way farmland preservation, and it talked about basically land that's in PUV, y'all, and PUV's present use value, which is another fancy term for basically a farm. You get farm tax rate on your land if you're actually have it in agriculture. And so House Bill 348 says, since county commissioners don't have a say in annexation, would you be willing to support HB 348? And what it would do, it would allow the county commissioners, if the annexation involved overcrowding of the school in that area where the annexation was, a chance to vote yes or no on the annexation. So it gives the county commissioners a say, and there's still an out where if the city still wanted it, they could go ahead and still annex, even if the commissioners voted no, but they would have to pay the county after the school systems figured out what it would cost. The city would have to pay the county whatever it took to put the schools back into 100% capacity. So that's basically the gist of House Bill 348. How do you feel about it, Brad? I've heard from Lisa, the attorney.
Well, so, it's one of those, I think the intent I get and agree with and see where you're coming from. I think everything, when anything becomes a bill in Raleigh or D.C. or wherever it comes from, the devil gets into the details. And now, as I read it, and if I'm wrong, and I read over this a lot once you sent this out to me and realized, it was the question. One of the things is I'm concerned with is how do we measure that? And is it going to be measured in the argument is it based on what the high density county residential would be versus city?
Yes.
And, we don't have any control over that. The other that just concerned me a little bit in the verbiage, what I kind of got was it comes through the county, but if there was money paid, the money's then paid to the LEA, the local education authority, instead of back to the county. Now, and so the significance to me there is if it's paid to the school system, the school system is going to say, well, we need to redo a football field, whereas our concern is it's about crowding. It's about needing more space again. Shouldn't it come back to the county? And if it's not going to do that way, then does the county even need to be involved? Should it just be then between the city and the school, and then it's just where the funding mechanism for which it passes?
Okay.
But I think the devil's in the details.
It is, and those can be fixed. I thought it went to the county, but I'll look and see how it's written. But it's determined by the local LEA, local education So, but the biggest thing there is, I really feel like is it gives y'all a say that you've never had before. And I think that's crucial for the fact, and you know this too, land pops up somewhere or another, somebody dies, whatever happens, it's been sitting there in farm use, not hurting anybody. It ain't asking for nothing, but it ain't getting nothing either. And all of a sudden, now 1,200 homes are plotted out on a country road. And the next thing you know, a school bond has to be done to build the schools to take care of this 1,200 homes that's going to have that 2.3 child in it or whatever the number is. And so next thing you know, it's a burden on everybody. Now, if they want to develop it 2 houses per acre, that's still out there, and they can still do that. This is all about the annexation side of it. And it makes it impossible, I feel like, to do y'all's job well if you don't know what's going to happen next. Reaction instead of action is the worst thing that can happen. And
I mean, there's times on this annexation that where I'll have somebody say, well, Brad, what are you thinking about this? There's times that it's almost completed by the city of Mooresville or Troutman before we'll even be notified.
I know.
You know, because as you've experienced, there's no mechanism that notifies that's a requirement to notify the county in any manner whatsoever.
Yep.
And, you know, and I will tell you one of the places and that I still believe that could make a big difference, and I know there's some hurdles to that, is I still believe we need to have the impact fees. And you know, I know there's issues to that, and that's where, you know, the developer pays a fee as each house, whether it's a set dollar amount or percentage. And I know there'd have to be some changes to our state constitution, but that would impact directly the people that are building each of these new houses instead of dividing it out against everybody in the county supporting all of these other new houses. And so that's something I wish the state would look at. And I know there's a lot of our neighboring states have gone to that and had a lot of success with that. And I think these developers that come in, they make quite a bit of money, and you know, everybody wants to make money, but we got to figure out a way to. We want to keep as much in Iredell County as we can to support Iredell County instead of watching it walk away as the developer moves on to the next state or, you know, wherever he happens to go.
Yeah, that's kind of the cool thing about this. It's actually kind of is an impact fee, but the city chooses to do it, so therefore it's legal. Well, I've vetted it with quite a few attorneys, so it's kind of a way. I don't want to call it that because I'd hate to get on a witness stand someday to defend it.
I got you, but you know, with it being paid by the city, ultimately it's still being paid by taxpayers.
Yeah. Well, what it'll come back to is probably tap fees. They'll put it back through in that development's tap fees, and so that's where it's going to have to be figured out in the lots and how much they're going to cost. And you know, there's the old trickle down theory, but it's a start. It is a start, and that's what we don't have now. Hey, we're down to the end here, kind of, and I told everybody I want to give each one of them like 30 seconds, a minute to say why should I vote for, in this case, Brad Stroud. So, Brad, lay that on us, and we're going to have to cut it off. But tell us, why should we vote for Brad Stroud?
Well, you know, I think that the majority of your folks out there, the listeners know me, very approachable. We may not always agree on everything, but I'm going to answer my phone. We're going to get the answers, and we're trying to figure out the best way moving forward. I think the everyday person just wants their voice to be heard. They want somebody who has to live the same as they do. I still live paycheck to paycheck. I still have to make sure that there's money to feed the cows and feed the family and take care of business. I'm an everyday Joe that just wants that has the time, the ability, and the passion to serve, and want to continue to do that and see a few more things accomplished and do it with integrity and honesty. And I appreciate your support, and we'll do the best we can and holding ourselves and the accountable and holding the tax rate down as best we can, but we've got to provide the services. A lot of the services are mandated. We have no choice. Other ones we could get rid of, but is that what we want? Some people say, why do we have Parks and Rec? It's quality of life product. And look at Jennings Park and what it's turned to be. And I just think we're just everyday common sense folks trying to do what's the best for the greater good.
All right. Well, Brad, thank you for your service to our country. Thank you to your service for our county, and thank you for serving as commissioner. Good luck, and I hope the hip improves and you get better. And so good luck in this election.
Jeff, thank you very much. Thanks for being willing to share time with each of us to say a few words. I appreciate you.
All right, man. You take care. See you.
Take care, Jeff. Bye-bye.
All right, folks, we're going to take a break, pay some bills. Maybe we're going to take a break and pay some bills and get into it. All right. Hang on. We got to come back for the next part.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
We all want more for North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Bravo, Brenda. You've always been a saver. Price matching your price matches. The self-proclaimed queen of extreme couponing. But this time, you truly outdone yourself. By saving for this electric vehicle, you're locking in up to $1,000 a year in fuel and maintenance savings, which will leave you saying, cha-ching, every time you unplug. Good for your wallet, great for the planet. That's the power of EV. Sponsored by the ANC Clean Energy Technology Center and the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters in cooperation with this station.
All right, folks, we're back here with the second half of the show. Hey, I got a good friend of mine. He's coming in. We're probably not going to be able to take any calls, maybe till the very, very last part. But I got our clerk of court here in Iredell County. I got Jim Mixon with me this morning. Jim, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Jeff?
Man, I'm doing all right. I've known Jim a long, long time. But some of the rest of y'all, like I said, there's people moving into Iredell every day. Who is Jim Mixon? Jim, tell us a little bit about who you are.
How long did you say we have?
As long as you want to take, as long as it takes. Get pretty close. You'll get an echo.
All right, my name's Jim Mixon. I've lived here in Iredell County since I was 15 years old. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I was actually born down the coast in Georgetown, South Carolina. My family's roots are all in South Carolina, but I've been here all my adult life here in Iredell County, with the exception of the time I was at UNC Charlotte and a little bit of about 2 years that I worked over in Salisbury. I've even worked here in Iredell County my entire adult life. I'm married to Christy, who I joke and say we went to different high schools together. We graduated the same year, but I went to Statesville and she went to West Iredell. Went to Mitchell, got my associates in criminal justice at Mitchell, then went on to UNC Charlotte, got my bachelor's in criminal justice down there. I worked for Coca-Cola Consolidated for a couple years, but that just wasn't fulfilling. And then I finally bit the bullet and went to work as a state probation parole officer for 17 years. I was primarily in the south end of the county. Enjoyed that, loved that. I get to tell everybody I left one job I love for another job I love. I think you heard me say that the morning, but it's true. Me and Chrissy have two kids. Jay, who is now working for the U.S. Forest Service, but he's a graduate of the Citadel and spent 6 years in the Navy as a civil engineering officer. And my daughter Addison, who's a graduate of Wingate University, who works in Charlotte as a marketing and business development agent for a commercial roofing company. So both of them, we're very proud of both of them. Me and Christy are members of Western Avenue Baptist Church. I've been a member of Western Avenue since 1982. I've been a deacon there. Me and Christy both serve as shepherds in the middle school there. I've been a scoutmaster for Troop 609 I'm on my 20th year.
I guess that long time.
Long time. I tell everybody a lot of things have changed about scouting, but not a lot has changed at Troop 609.
There you go.
So we still stick with the principles and values that scouting was founded on. And I'm proud to say that we've been able to maintain that, even with other changes in the national organization. I've been the clerk here since 2012. I'm proud of what all I've accomplished as clerk. I just finished serving almost a 2-year term as the president of the North Carolina Conference of Clerks of Superior Court. I think, as you know, that kept me very busy, kept me down in Raleigh a lot, kept me down at the General Assembly a lot. I think what most people don't understand is that's a statutory organization. It's not an association. We have our own association, but the conference is actually a statutory organization. It's housed within the judicial branch of government there in Raleigh. So, and it's how the elected clerks work with the General Assembly, work with the administrative office of the courts, because we're all 100 of us are elected, and we're independent judicial officials.
You'll hear us say AOC. We're talking about something completely different than what y'all thinking. Administration of the court.
Yeah, and AOC is the administrative office of the courts, not that
crazy woman.
Crazy. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. But I have thoroughly enjoyed serving as clerk. I try to make sure everybody understands all the different hats or different roles the clerks wear, and the roles that we play. You know, we're not just the clerical person in the courthouse. We are that. We are the record keeper, but the clerk has a very important judicial role. The clerk is the judge of probate. And North Carolina is the only state that I know of. The clerk has judicial authority. In other words, sits on a bench in a courtroom, wears a black robe from time to time. I'm generally so busy I don't put mine on. I just wear a suit because I'm going from one thing to another. But I tell everybody that I can. Our cases that we hear are very important.
Yeah, a lot of times they're on collections. I've had 2 different times I've had the clerk rule with me on collections as far as people moving stuff that had liens against it, or tied up with as collateral.
Right.
Cattle walk too far sometimes.
True. I can joke about that because I've called the legal department at AOC, the Administrative Office of the Courts, for guidance before. Their first question was, is this about cows or is this about guns? It's Iredell County. And that's no joke. Is this about cows or is this about guns?
I get you.
And but, the clerk hears the competency determinations, the appointment of guardians, foreclosure actions, partitions of land, adoptions, all of those are heard and presided over by the clerk of Superior Court. Not a district court judge, not a Superior Court judge. In fact, there's a statistic that the Administrative Office of the Courts put out in 2024 that the clerks throughout the state, and this is a statewide statistic, I don't really have it broken down for Iredell County, but statewide, the clerks presided over 45, close to 46% of all the cases in our Superior Court division. Which most people don't understand how many cases we actually hear.
I would have thought, no offense, I would have thought a lot less than that too. So y'all catch a lot of the stuff before it gets there, to the district or the superior level.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody can appeal my ruling. I've had cases appealed. I've had cases appealed to the Superior Court, to the Court of Appeals, and actually had one that was appealed to the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court declined to hear it because there was just no reason for them to hear it. But everything that I'm proud to say, everything that's gone to the appellate level that I presided over that started with me has been upheld.
Oh, good.
So I'm very proud of that.
Well, and this is, the clerk of court is just not a job you fall into you were blessed to be kind of involved in the whole structure of it, being a probation officer. So you've seen that, you knew the internal workings, and you knew all the players in the play, as they say, and so for you it was kind of a natural next step almost when you got it in 2012.
Right, and in probation it's a little different now, but back when I started with probation and parole, we worked court. In other words, we're sworn officers of the court, just like a clerk is. A district court judge swore me in as a probation officer. So, but we worked court. I sat in the courtroom. I had a court day every week that I sat in the courtroom and I did the probation judgments for the judge to sign. I essentially did the role that the clerk does, but I did it for probation. So, yes, I've been in and out of the courtroom in that courthouse for over 30 years.
Right. And so I know, like I said, that experience has played huge dividends in doing this job. But then there was still a learning curve, too, I'm sure, because, like you said, you probably, like a lot of us, you got there and you go, wow, there is a little bit more going on here at the clerk of court than even I realized,
Right. And when I became clerk, I had a very good knowledge of how things worked in the criminal world of the states and special proceedings. I had to learn a lot. I had to learn a lot. And what I enjoy is the fact that that's where I spend the majority of my time, though, is at states and special proceedings, because that's where the clerk has their judicial jurisdiction. So I spend over half my time with that.
Now, how many people do you got underneath you? Around 20, 25, or is it grown?
47.
47. So the county grows, unfortunately, civil and criminal litigation continues to grow, so you have to also. So that office has really grown in the last 10, 15, 20 years.
And as you know, as we've talked about when I've been down there, there's a need. There's a greater
especially
need.
There's some help with your assistant clerks of courts as far as the pay scales and whatnot.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
I know. Me and Jim talked a lot.
That's a conversation for April.
Yeah.
Short session rolls around.
But Jim has come see me a lot. And some has been the I guess president, chair, whatever you want to call it, of the Association of Clerks of Court. But also just coming to see me on your own to want to talk about some things going on, because there's always glitches. I always say if there is any loophole in the law, it won't be necessarily a lawyer that finds it. It'll be a citizen that figures it out somehow or another through a crazy set of circumstances.
Absolutely. And as you know, we've talked a lot about, I think a lot of things I've come to talk to you are what we call technical corrections.
Yeah.
It may be where there's one statute that refers to something this way and there's another statute that's just as important refers to it just a little different. We need those statutes to agree.
It's
and
not
we've worked on a lot of things like that to make the statutes better.
Well, let's get into something that I know you've had to tackle, and I tell me, we may have been one of the last ones. I don't know, or maybe we were the first ones. But the e-courts, and folks, the e-courts is where we've changed everything. I'll let Jim explain a little bit what e-court means necessarily.
Whoa. Again, how long do we have? E-courts has been a generational transformation for the entire court system throughout our state. We were lucky that we were one of the last tracks to go live back in October, and that
we got some bugs out.
We got a lot of bugs out. A lot of things worked out before Iredell County and the last 13 counties went live. And I joke and say I had nothing to do with that when I was the president. But I did have the opportunity, when I was serving as the president of the Clerks Conference, to be in a lot of counties as they moved through their transition. And I had an opportunity to observe. So that helped us out a lot. In fact, I sent a lot of my staff to other counties. We used Union and we used some other counties that were similar in size, population, demographics. And we sent just about everybody in my office to those counties to observe and learn before we went live. So it was a smoother transformation for us. But e-courts,
and there's still some stuff we got to work out.
There's a whole lot we still got to work out.
I'm hearing now that the case has to be logged in completely before the next case can come, instead of catching it up overnight like we have in the past. So that's slowed us down.
That has slowed us down tremendously in criminal district court. Now, most of our other courts, we've got enough time with things going on. Our civil courts, even our criminal superior court, things seem to be returning to normal. But criminal district court, we've still got a way to go. And we met with our chief district court judge, our district attorney, and our public defender just a week ago to work on some of those issues. But a lot of it is you had to get to where we're at now to know how to understand what we need to do next.
Yeah.
So it's been a little bit of an uphill battle when it comes to that. But eCourts it's a completely new way of doing business. It's not just a new record-keeping system. And that's the hard part for everyone to understand, for my staff to even grasp. We encourage everybody, just remember everything you know about the law and forget everything else about all of those 13 or 14 different separate operating systems that we used to have to deal with.
Yeah. The old blinking green light.
Right, the old green screens. But all of those, none of them really talked well to each other. They were all developed in the late 80s, early 90s. They were simply indexes for paper files is what they really were.
Yeah.
And now everything is online. You can see it. As soon as the judge signs an order and it's filed, it's online. You don't have to come down to the courthouse to find it. And you don't have to wait for us to dig through stacks of paper to find it. It's there. It's online. And I sign all my orders electronically. All our judges sign them electronically and send it to someone in the clerk's office for it to be filed. And like I said, once it's filed, it's live. It's public. Most everything in the clerk's office is public information with the exception of juvenile matters, adoptions, and a few other things as the law says are confidential. So everything that's public is online now.
Well, and this will be a great thing once we get comfortable and figure it out and continue to tweak it. There was a lot of hesitation, a lot of pushback from a lot of people because nobody likes change. No. Nobody likes new. And of course, I don't know what it is, but I've noticed at the state level that any time that we go about trying to create something that's better, it's usually worse for a while. And nobody likes to take that step back or two.
Yeah. And it was such a drastic change. Like our systems that we were using were designed in the late 80s and early 1990s. I remember when I started with probation and parole, the FMS, the financial management component, had just come online. So I started in June of 95, and they went live with that in January of 95. So in my files, there was still a lot of paper records about what people had paid and what they owed, and you had to do. I always joked and said, I majored in criminal justice. I wouldn't have to do math, and that's what all I did in the first year as a probation officer was a bunch of math to figure out probation, supervision fees, fines, restitution, and stuff like that. But so it was. I mean, that was our latest systems had only been live for, had been alive for like a decade, and most of them were 30-some years old. So switching from, it's like going from you could probably give me a better example on the farm, an old tractor to a modern-day tractor.
Well, I'll give you an example of G&M Milling. We had a book that was probably like 5 encyclopedias thick of accounts receivable to the next thing you know, we're on QuickBooks.
Right. That's a good analogy.
And so not having to grab this thing out and dig through and figure out and look at the handwriting. I love my mother to death if she happens to be listening. Trying to figure out what her intent was because you couldn't really read what it actually was her intent. And so it's tough. It's tough. And I'll hear a lot of people say, the old ways are the good way. And I get that. But at some point in some time, with the technology we have to be able to share this data with other counties, other states. People don't ride a horse anymore. They're in a car, a plane, bus, something. It's moving quick. Next thing you know, they're picked up in another county, another state. What's their record? What are they in trouble for here? What warrants are out? What's out there? The whole 9 yards. This is what it does. It allows us to work back and forth.
Right. And I don't think a lot of people understand that was the end goal of the system, was access to justice.
Yeah.
Not necessarily greater efficiency. I think the greater efficiencies, the system has a lot of potential for that. But access to justice was the ultimate goal of the system.
Well, not to switch too much gears, you've been doing this. You know your job, but you're running again this time. You actually have a little bit of competition.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to put it that way, folks, because I don't think there really is any competition. I think Jim Mixon is the perfect person for this job, for the clerk of court here in Iredell County. I endorse him 100% completely. Known Jim to be a quality person, and I've also known him to be extremely competent in his job. I never question what Jim does at the clerk of court because I found it to be a spot on time every time, and I appreciate that. Y'all don't realize how important this job is. The courts will come to a grinding halt if the clerk of court's office is not able to perform maximum efficiency, especially with the new system we have in place. And I just want to thank you, condone you for the great job you have, and got a minute or two if you want to just talk to the people and say, why should we put Jim Mixon back in as clerk of court in Iredell County? We'd love to hear it.
You've kind of humbled me, Jeff, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate your kind words, and I think what I would say is just kind of echo what you said. Experience, a love for the job, a love for what I'm doing, and I just continuously want to make things better. And I want to, there's some other things I want to work on in the next 4 years. I kind of, through my role as the judge of probate, I started to see a disturbing trend in our elder community being taken advantage of.
Scams and whatnot.
And I really want to focus on that and getting that out in the community and doing as much prevention as we can, because a lot of that's what triggers someone coming down and saying, hey, we need a guardian for my grandmother or my mom or something like that. Their health care power of attorney or their financial power of attorney is not working. All of these things they plan to do, and then they got wiped out because of one scam. And there's so many out there. There's an interesting statistic. I forgot which federal agency put it out, but literally it's just in the last 5 years, it's increased like 400%. The older population being taken advantage of.
And most times these things they're fairly elaborate.
They are.
And I've often thought if you have the intelligence and the knowledge to be able to pull these off, whether it be through internet or even through voiceover on phone or however you go about it, there's definitely a career out there for you making an honest living. But obviously that doesn't intrigue, and I know a lot of them are international,
right?
To a point too. You're working with people.
We see that a lot with the jury scam. There's, and I'll just say this: if we got a minute or two,
go ahead.
We get a lot of phone calls that start with, "I got a phone call from a sheriff's deputy that said I missed jury duty, and that the judge had issued a bench warrant for my arrest, but if." The deputy said if I paid $5,000 to him right then, that they could avoid me being arrested. That is a scam. We do not call and ask or for people to send us money over the telephone. A lot of times it is go down and get gift cards and give us the numbers off the gift cards and stuff like that. But
government doesn't want Apple gift cards.
No, but they do such a good job of sounding like a local law enforcement officer. They do their research. They will give you the name of somebody at the Iredell County Sheriff's Office or the Statesville Police Department or Mooresville Police Department. They will clone a phone number that appears to come from a government agency. They look legit. It all presents legit. But the key to remember is, yes, you can be fined for missing jury duty, but you have to come to court and be fined by a judge. It's not just automatic.
Right.
So you, just like anything else, there's due process. So if you miss jury duty, you're going to get a piece of paper served on you. You got to come down and appear before the judge can take any action.
You're not going to be able to pay a deputy. You're going to have to come to the clerk of court's office and pay them.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I'm going to break here. Jim, I appreciate you. I always like to do a crazy as it gets. I actually got a couple of them real quick, and we're going to end the show. One of them, I think, crazy as it gets, this is on the crazy side, is Portland, Oregon, police chief there, Bob Day, has a news conference to talk about Border Patrol actually shooting 2 Venezuelan gang members who were in the country illegally and involved in a shooting, suspects in it, and the Border Patrol actually shot them. And he goes on his news conference and he starts crying about them getting shot. And I'm having a hard time finding the empathy, sympathy, whatever the word may be in this case, to understand this. They tried to run over the Border Patrol agents 2 p.m., so it's middle of the day. It's not out of the night or whatever you want to say. And the mayor even of Portland, and these are the people I don't understand, the police chief crying, and the mayor, Keith Wilson, called for ICE to leave. We cannot sit by while constitutional protections erode and bloodshed mounts. They're not citizens, folks. They don't have constitutional rights in the United States if they entered illegally. Somebody's got to make sense of that. My next one now, and this is as sad crazy as it gets, but I'm trying to find pictures. Me and Ron both have not been able to. Obviously, there has been a avalanche over on the Philippine island. I think it's the name of the close by city on this island is Subi City, and it's the Benwali landfill. And there it is. Okay, he's finally got me a picture. The landslide actually happened at a landfill, and it took 4 lives, sadly, and quite a few more are missing. Quite a few have been dug from the rubble. But to understand this, they were actually, from what I can tell, mostly inside buildings at the facility when the 20-story high pile of trash landslided onto the buildings and buried them in it. And now the story has been for a while that the people that have to go and dump the trash at the landfill have been scared to death because there is a road that climbs to the top of this 20-story pile of garbage to where they dump. And so when it rains, they have these garbage landslides. I'm a little confused. But I guess when you're on an island, you got limited places to get rid of your refuge. But this is tragic, but this sounds crazy as it gets, I swear. Ron, I think it's about time. Dear Heavenly Father, dear Lord, we thank you. I pray for those people in the Philippines. I pray for recovery of them, that they're safe. But what a crazy way, Lord. I just pray for common sense across this whole planet. I pray you watch over us, lead and guide us. Choose the people you would wish to serve you, that serve in our government, to further your kingdom. So be with us every day. Keep us safe, dear Lord. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. Folks, until next week, take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Taking Care of NC. We hope today's program offered valuable insight into the topics shaping North Carolina's future. Stay informed, stay engaged, and join us next time as we continue exploring the issues that matter most to our state. Until then, take care, and thank you for being a part of the conversation.
Real Country is 550 AM WAME, 92.9 W225BD, Statesville.
WAME and Bunch Johnson Funeral Home are proud to present our national anthem, Bunch Johnson, where every detail matters. Call them at 704-873-7223 or stop by their location at 705 Davie Avenue, Statesville for your personalized experience.
Oh, say, and you see by the dawn's early light, oh, so proudly we hailed at the twilight's gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we were so glad.
And the rock is regular above bird, singing yeah, through the night that I played was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell claims the central bank's independence is threatened by President Trump. Powell says the Fed has been served with subpoenas and is threatened with a criminal indictment. It stems from his congressional testimony given last June. The death toll in Iran has soared to more than 540, this amid nationwide anti-government demonstrations threatening the theocracy with collapse. President Trump, who has threatened U.S. intervention to halt the bloodshed, says that Iran is now seeking negotiations with the U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says hundreds more federal agents will be deployed to Minneapolis and surrounding areas in the midst of the ongoing anti-ICE demonstrations. On Wall Street, the Dow is down about 190 points. The Nasdaq trading 8 points in the red. More details, srnnews.com.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Now that we're finally into the new year, a lot of us are thinking about taxes, home projects we've been putting off, ways to get ahead financially in